Good morning. Welcome to our Gardening Center. My name is Michelle, and we are having a class on edibles today. Thank you for coming. Edibles are a staple. We all like to grow our own vegetables. We want to pick our own fruit. We have a kind of a tough climate here. We have the hot, dry summer, especially this summer. We haven't had any monsoon whatsoever this year. So we do have some tough conditions, but it is doable. So we're going to talk a little bit about what you can grow here, what does really well, and kind of how to go about starting an edible garden, whether you're going to do a full drawn-out garden bed, or if you're going to kind of just tuck a few things, here and there, replace a few shrubs with something edible instead of another shrub. Some people replace their lawns with thyme, creeping thyme. It's a way to bring edibles into your yard. It also tends to be a whole lot better than actual lawn. The dogs will love it if you have it. So it's an option for you to introduce that type of thing for you. It smells great. It flowers, so you'll have this pretty flowers in the springtime. So you've got a lot of, Oh yeah, yeah. You can walk on it once it's established. You can do all the walking on it that you want. So it's a great thing to introduce for you. His question was, does thyme go dormant in the wintertime? And it does. So it'll be shut down, but it'll come back. It kind of depends on our winter too. If you have a mild winter, it's not going to go dormant on you. If it's a tough winter like we had last winter, it definitely will. So one thing to think about when you are planning on an edible garden or yard, kind of make a list of what you like to eat. A lot of us have a tendency to jump in with both feet and we want this, and this, and we really don't have the room for it. So kind of make a list of what will grow, kind of take a survey of your environment. Do you have a lot of shade? Do you have a lot of sun? And kind of figure out where you're going to put stuff. Kind of think out of the box as well. You don't necessarily have to have a garden bed. Putting peppers and tomatoes along your flower beds is great. Fills space, it gives you a lot of color. When the fruit starts growing, you're going to water it anyway. You might as well have something that you can eat there. It gives you the colors of your fruits when they start ripening, so it brings out a whole bunch of different textures and stuff like that. Water requirements, most of this stuff will have the same water requirements as your shrubs, your barberries, whatever. If you don't have a lot of space, if something dies, you have a barberry that dies or some other shrub, think about putting something else there. Rosemary makes a great evergreen. Most of them kind of get in that 4 to 5 foot range, so they make a great shrub. They do bloom. They're one of the few evergreens that bloom. Beautiful blue flowers, usually in the spring, and then do again in the fall. If you have rock walls, you can do the creeping rosemary. It'll just kind of spill over for you, so that's another option for you. Locations, you can also do pots. If you have a back patio, you have a small patio home, don't have a lot of yard space, pots are great for edibles. You can do tomatoes, peppers, even small, cabbages. flowers with beets, and I have some microgreens in here. We are fixing to go into your kind of our cool season crop, hopefully sometime soon. It looks like in the 14-day forecast, we're actually going to get into the 80s next week, so yay! So here in Prescott, we have 3 growing seasons. So in March, kind of starts our cool season, growing season, where we can do your cabbages and beets, onions, potatoes, peas, all that stuff you can start growing at that point in time. Also in the fall, we have that second period where right now you can start your lettuce, onions, beet, cabbage. You might wait on the lettuces just for a little bit because we are so hot, so they don't bolt. Radish, you can start those in a couple of weeks when we do drop down into the 80s. That way they don't bolt on you. After you kind of walk your space, figure out what you're going to do, kind of draw yourself a little design, figure out what you're going to do. Are you going to plant around your walkways? Are you just going to do a few pots? Kind of think of what you're going to put in. Are you going to do your tomatoes? Once those tomatoes come out, you can put something else in there. You can replace it with cabbages or bok choy. Chard makes a great larger plant, so you'll have that height in your pots. So you have interest all year round. Once you have your design and you figure out what you want to plant, there are a lot of selection that you can go through. We can do veggies here. Cool season kind of ends towards the middle of May. Our last frost date is usually May 15th, Mother's Day. Not this year, but that's when your tomatoes and your peppers, your cucumbers and all that stuff can go in. We are very seasonal as far as our nursery. So what is good to plant is what we have to sell. So right now we have lettuce, we have beets, we have bok choy. Next week I have some Swiss chard coming in, a couple of romaine lettuces, more herbs. So we're kind of kicking into that cool season stuff. Pansies will be here in a couple of weeks, so we're excited about that. Mums will be here next week, coming Wednesday. Not that those are edible, but they're coming. Herbs you can plant pretty much any time. Think about it, there's a lot of herbs that are perennial here. A lot of your rosemaries, your oreganos, your mints, all of those things will come back year after year after year. Your basils, dill, that type of thing, you're going to have to replace that. So it's great to put those in containers so you can just switch them out and put something new in there. Chives is another one that will continue to come back. So you can just clip and use them as you need to. They do die back in the winter time, but then they'll come back. Yes, ma'am.
So when you're doing herbs, if you have it in a greenhouse, can you plant year round? Or is it just for
The question is, can you do herbs in a greenhouse? And yes, you can. It just kind of depends on your greenhouse, if it's heated or not. If it's just kind of a shelter with glass, you'll get a little bit of extension on the season. But if there's no heater in there, you're just extending your season a little bit. You're not going to have a full winter season.
As long as you keep it warm, you can grow it.
Correct. If it's warm, you can grow year-round. Make sure it's well ventilated because if you just have that heat and no airflow, diseases and pests could get started in there. Fruit trees make a great addition to any edible landscape. Fruit trees do extremely well here, from apples, peaches, pears, nectarines, almonds. Almond trees grow over here. These folks right here we just discovered have a pistachio tree in their backyard. In Chino, all places. So we're kind of excited to hear that. So there are a lot of things that you can grow here. This season was very sketchy on fruit. Some of the peaches were hit and miss. Most of the apples got taken out by frost. So the trees do just fine. You just kind of, sometimes you just don't get the fruit like we want to. Shrubs and berries, blueberries, which is right here, do great here. You do need to have some afternoon shade for them. So put them on a northeast or really north side where they don't get any afternoon sun. They tend to fry, they'll get crispy edges, and you'll have leaf damage. But they make a great shrub. They have gorgeous, gorgeous fall color, bright oranges. Most of them kind of get in that 3 to 5 foot range. Some of them stay in that 3. There are others, like the Legacy that I think we just sold out of, gets in that 5 to 6 foot range. So if you have a shade, they're a great option for you to provide you fruit and fall colors, so you can use them for both. Strawberries, rhubarb, those make great border plants. Ground cover, as far as the strawberries go, they'll fill in a space if you have empty spaces that you just want to fill. Rhubarb is a great thing in a corner. It's just nice and leafy green. So it gives you color, plus you can use it for rhubarb pie. Grapevines do great here. You can put them on an arbor, along a fence line. They give you something to look at, plus you can make wine, you can make jellies and all that stuff. We sell a whole variety of different grapes. Most of them are table grapes. We didn't get any wine grapes this year. Yes, sir?
You get varieties of new up this area as far as strawberries and grapes?
Yeah, everything that we bring in is going to be well here, from your grapes and pretty much everything that we sell here. Usually if you find one of us, there's a few things that do better more down in there, that type of thing, but for the most part, everything we sell will do well here. We are in the zone 7 for all of those that don't know. So when you're looking at a tag, you want something 7 or lower. The lower the number, the more cold tolerant your plants will be. Typically, we don't get any colder than 5 degrees, depending on the winter. Last year, we did get cold for a longer period of time. The year before, I don't think we dropped below the 20s. So it just kind of depends from year to year what we're going to do. So kind of keep that in mind when you're looking around. If you have questions, don't be hesitant to ask. Yep.
Does the grapes get a blossom?
Her question was, do grapes get a blossom? Yeah, they do. It's not very significant. It's kind of like a privet blossom, or like the heavenly bamboo blossoms that you see. They don't have a really pretty flower. They just can do their thing. You can also, the more you kind of keep them in check, if you just kind of let them go, they're not going to bloom for you as fast as they would if you do a little trimming. They do better with a little trimming.
I thought I had little grapes starting, and then I went out of town and came back, and absolutely every single one of them were gone. I almost got to a trip through, or it wasn't like any large, mammoth growth or anything. Just a little green things, and then, well, up and gone, and then the green things come back. So back on the same cluster.
She's having some difficulties with her grapes. I don't know for sure, but I know they're not going to regrow on a plant that have died off. Leaves and stuff will, but that's kind of weird. It's been a stressful year on a lot of plants. We've seen a lot of stress this year. Okay, gotta keep on task or I forget where I'm at. Raspberries, boysenberries, blackberries all look great along a fence area. So if you have an extra space, a block wall, a logical fence around, they're great to just kind of put up there. It gives you some blockage for privacy. Also, you can use the fruit whenever it's ready. So that's a great way to use them.
How often do we have to water those then?
Her question was, how often are you going to water your raspberries? It kind of depends year to year. Typically, we only water once or twice a week, kind of depending on our temperature. This year, we're closer to that twice a week for sure, because we're dispensing dry. But it kind of depends on your property too. We all kind of live, all our soil is really bad, but there are places that have more clay, there are places that have more rock and more porous, so some people have fairly well-drained soil. If you're in Granville or Pronghorn, Chino, we have more clay down there. You're probably not going to water as often if you have clay, whereas if you have a very porous soil and well-drained soil, you're going to water more often. Soil prep? Yes.
The berries do well in container pots.
Yes, they do. Her question was, do berries do well in container pots? They do. Just make sure you have a good potting soil in them and fertilize more often because you're going to leach those nutrients out faster in a pot. Which we're going to move on to right now is soil prep. So if you are going to start a garden in a garden area, I would recommend a good potting soil to fill a raised bed in. If you've got a garden plot and you're going to just kind of till it up and add nutrients to it, you'll definitely want to add some extra mulch, some barnyard manure to it, just to give you some organic matter. If you're doing the raised bed, just the potting soil is great, but don't forget to add the food to it. Especially if you're using our potting soil, there's no nutrients in it whatsoever. There's organic matter in it, but not significant nutrients. So you will want to feed your plants. If you do not, you're going to end up with like blossom end rot in your tomatoes, your peppers, zucchini will have blossom end rot if you don't have that calcium content to it. Speaking of which, we just came up with a new fertilizer this year. Actually, we kind of brought it back. This is our fruit and vegetable fertilizer. It used to be tomato and veggie food, but we've kind of enhanced it. We've added the calcium content to it, so this will help. Anybody ever have the squash where you start getting your zucchini and then it just kind of gets really skinny at the end? That's blossom end rot on a zucchini. So add the calcium to them, they'll be much more happier and you'll get your actual squash to them. So we're going to be selling this and our all-purpose. So we bought this in specifically for fruits and veggies and fruit trees.
Slow release?
Yes. The fertilizer is going to be slow release, just like the all-purpose. This is our sign-up sheet. If you just put your name and your email address, you'll get a copy of this video and any other information that we'll attach to it. Yes.
I had just finished a large raised planter, and each individual plant's got its mulch, it gets fed, but then all around it is just, it looks like leftover DG. And I've been putting, gradually, putting just topsoil, some cheap topsoil. Will that give any nutrients into, assuming that those individual plants, the roots will go out? Topsoil just made it look really nice and clean and rich looking, but I didn't bother with looking to see if there was any nutrients in it.
Her question was, does topsoil add any nutrients? And typically it doesn't. Basically, topsoil will just add a little bit of, it gives you texture. If you have a lot of rocks, that's what you want to add to your holes when you're digging your plants. There are some topsoils do have some mulch in them, so any organic matter is going to break down, but it doesn't give you nutrients, so to speak. Existing garden beds, if you were going to plant in them, when you go to plant your plants, that's when you're going to add your mulch, just like we just said. 2/3 natural soil, 1/3 mulch is what we do to plant. And that would be if you were going to put a tomato in your side bed, you're going to plant it just like you would a shrub, with that in mind. If you're going to put a grapevine, same thing. You're going to put 2/3 natural soil, 1/3 mulch. There are different combinations that you can use when considering a edible garden. Fruit trees, you have a really nice ornamental size. If you allow them to get full size, which most fruit trees will get in that 15 to 20 foot range. So if you need an ornamental tree and you just want some fruit with it, why not choose one of these? They bloom in the spring. Most of them give you a beautiful fall color, whether they're gold. Your pears are going to give you those oranges and reds. So it's a great tree, a great addition to your landscape. Your plums have beautiful white flowers. Your peaches and nectarines usually are pink flowers. So if you are looking at adding a tree and you don't want it to get too large, you can definitely add a fruit tree instead of a large shade tree or an ornamental tree if you want to go edible.
So then, if you have this tree, how is it great? Do you have a lot of issues with bugs eating them, or?
Her question was, with fruit trees, do you have a lot of issues with bugs eating them? Yes. It just kind of goes with the territory. We get thrip in the springtime, we get aphids in the springtime. I don't know, this year has been a really disease and bug infested year. The conditions, everything is stress, and when you have stressed plants, it brings in more pests and diseases. So always have an arsenal. I always recommend that you have our multi-purpose insect spray on hand and the Revitalize. The multi-purpose will take care of thrips, aphids, a whole host of, like 100 different types of bugs and insects. Grasshoppers, if you have a ton of grasshoppers, you can spray that on them. They take like 3 or 4 hops and they're dead. So it works really well on grasshoppers, but it is a contact killer, so spray it early in the morning when the bees aren't around, or late in the evening after the bees kind of take off, and then you spray it so you don't harm them. The multi-purpose will add a residue to your plants that when the chewers will start eating, it makes them sick and then they'll go off and die. Yeah, her question was, are they safe for humans? Basically, all the products, once they're dry, they're fine. Yeah. Along with a warning on the fertilizer, both this and the multi-purpose are safe for pets and kids, but Having said that, make sure you put it away. Don't leave the bag just laying around. There are a lot of good things in here that dogs tend to like to eat. So if they eat the bag, they will get sick. But if it's just laying around in your yard, it's not going to harm them. Okay. Yes?
Do you have to have, like, more than one to prevent the growth?
Her question was about fruit trees. Do you have to have more than one to grow? It depends on the tree itself and what kind of fruit we're talking. Most of your apples and pears do need a pollinator. Some of your plums also need a pollinator. There are a few varieties of all three of those that are semi-self-fertile. So like your Bartlett pear is semi-self-fertile. So if you just need one pear, look for the semi-self-fertile note on the labels. Fuji apples, Gala apples are both semi-self-fertile. And what semi-self-fertile means is that you will get fruit, you're just not going to get that huge production like you would if you had the two trees. Basically, any apple trees will pollinate each other as long as they're blooming at the same time. And that's the trick as far as pollination. You need them to bloom at the same time so you get that cross-pollination. A lot of us live in neighborhoods where, your neighbor might have an apple tree, and as long as it's blooming at the same time, you might not need a second apple tree because you'll have hers to pollinate with each other. Your peaches, your nectarines, and your apricots are all self-fertile. The Italian prune or Stanley plum, those are both, a lot of your European plums are self-fertile. So the smaller ones, the Santa Rosas, the big round plums, most of those do need a pollinator. Let's see, we'll go back. Let's talk about some combinations real quick. So I kind of put together some pots just to kind of give you an idea of how you put things together. Here we have snapdragons, we have red beets and some microgreens. In this pot here, I have some echinacea and dill, sage, and peppermint. So in this pot, this one's going to die back to the ground, but it'll come back in the next year. The only one that you're going to lose is the dill on this in this pot. This pot I have blueberries and some cool season lettuce. In the shade, your cool season lettuce will do a whole lot better than they will out in the full sun, especially this time of year. As it gets cooler, you can probably put them in the full sun and they'll do just fine. Strawberries, like I've said before, make great borders, ground covers. If you're just trying to look at vegetable, just to fill some space, give you some green. A lot of times strawberries are evergreen as well. They're not going to stay nice and leafy, but usually you'll get a tight leaf on their crown that stay green. These also provide some really pretty fall color. They turn reds and oranges. Bok choy is a Chinese cabbage. It's another cool season crop, so we will be getting these in. I do have a half a flat back there, but we'll have more as the season goes on. Cool season's just beginning. This here is an almond tree. This one's good. This is an all-in-one almond. We were talking about pollinators earlier, and this does not need a pollinator. It pollinates its own. If you have a Hardy all-in-one, there's another variety that does need a pollinator, and this is it. So if you wanted a second one, make sure you get two varieties. It's kind of the same with apples. and your pears. You can't do the same type of tree. You can't have two red delicious trees. You have to have something else, a golden or a Granny Smith or something else to make that. I brought a Gravenstein apple. It's more of a pie apple. That one does need a pollinator as well. Really pretty white flowers that smell amazing. And this one's really kind of cool because it's blooming right now. Ken went through and did some pruning. He does maintenance on our trees in the fall. So we did some pruning, we fertilized, and that's what happened. So it's kind of a unique year. Over here I have a veteran peach, kind of a yellow red skin peach, cling free, so that the seed will pull out. Nice juicy peach that has pink flowers in the springtime. Yes.
So if you buy a tree like the size of these, how long do you have to wait before you can actually harvest fruit?
Her question was, is if you buy trees this size, how soon will you get peaches? Usually this year, you will get peaches. The apples as well. We try to get in trees that are ready to produce, which is why we don't sell whips, because you have to wait so long. So most of these will produce the first year. That being said, I do recommend that you cull off as much as you can possibly live with, because fruit production takes a lot of energy. And when you first plant a tree, you really want all that energy to go to your root system. So pick off as much as you can. So you want a peach fruit too, so just kind of keep one or two and just let everybody else drop off or pick them off. When you're doing that, you try to keep the ones that are inside the tree and not on the branches, because fruit does get heavy and some of these branches are very really thin at the moment, so you don't want any breakage. So take the ones off the tips of your trees if you can. Grapes. Grapevines usually take 3 years before they produce when you plant them. So be patient, give them some time, and then they'll start producing. Like I said, you do need to maintain your grapes. If you just kind of let them go, you'll get some, but you'll probably have smaller fruit, and you won't get as much production as if you do some trimming on them. You do not need to trim unless you want to have, the arms on your grapes. Just a little trimming back in the springtime will give you that production. But if you want very neat grapevines, more power to you. And there are some really good classes if you do want to know how to do that. On our YouTube channel, we had a lady from a vineyard in Birdie that came up a couple of years ago, so that she's on our YouTube channel.
I'll be sure to include that in the links that I send out when I send out this newsletter on Thursday. So if you signed up today, or if we have your email address, you'll get a copy of that video along with the rest of the stuff.
Okay. Cool season also for onions. These are bunching onions, so scallions. You probably won't get large onions. I can bring them in, but they just won't get big right now, unless you leave them through the winter and let them kind of finish up in the springtime. But they usually stay green most of the winter unless we get super, super cold. Mine stayed green all winter last year, so we should be good. Just to show you, we do have a few lavenders, and I have more coming in next week. A great ornamental, makes a great shrub. Most of them stay in that 12 to 18 inch range. Beautiful purple flowers, very drought tolerant. Most people kill this because they water too much. So kind of pay attention to that. You won't have to water as much as a lot of other things. I'm sorry?
That was loud.
Yes, yes. Talked about maintenance. Okay. That was kind of quick. Anybody have any questions for me?
Yeah,
Anything?
on the time, is that, can you plant that in full sun?
Yes.
And
Her question was, can you plant the sun, thyme in full sun? Yeah, you can. You do need to keep it moist and watered because usually when people buy this, it does come in a 6-pack, so it's nice to kind of spread it out. One of these will make about a foot or so, even possibly more as far as spacing goes. But you do want to keep it moist because if it dries out, it kind of gets ugly and stuff.
so it has pretty hardy root system in it, and it will eventually kind of grow.
Yeah,
to fill it.
thyme does have a very hardy root system. And like I said, it does bloom. This one's pink chin, so the flowers are pink. And it'll be great in the springtime.
Well, I have another question, but it doesn't have anything to do with these plants that you mentioned today.
Okay.
Go ahead.
See me after class and we'll definitely talk to you. Yes.
I wanted to know, I use the 744, like, that's the all-purpose. I use that about as the seasons are changing. How often is the vegetable fertilizer used?
Her question was, she uses 744, and as all of you know, we do it Easter, 4th of July, Halloween, and for evergreens, we're going to do a New Year's application. Kind of the same way with the fruit and vegetable. I will put an amendment. If you are doing containers, feed more often because you're watering, even a raised bed, you're watering that probably more often than you would if your stuff is in the ground. So feed a little bit more for those type of situations. Yeah. Any other questions? Sorry. We are all finished. Sorry.